Ah, yes, it's finally 2023. A fresh new year that comes with new challenges, objectives, and tons of new video games and movies to complain about on social media and YouTube. But instead of focusing on what's to come, how about we talk about a show that was once great and highly influential and that has been now running for almost 10 years? I have so many fond memories of this show that is also technically a part of my childhood in a way. Damn, it's like the Minecraft effect all over again when I come to think about that. Anyway, existential crisis aside, Rick and Morty is an Adult Swim cartoon show that features the iconic duo of the same name doing weird sci-fi shenanigans along their other family members while delivering witty one-liners.
I turned myself into a pickle, Morty!
Okay, not that one. Yeah, I know, more could be said about the settings and stuff, but I'm a nobody, so chances are the only way you'll get this video recommended to you is if you've been targeted by the algorithm because you previously watched multiple Rick and Morty clips on YouTube, meaning you already pretty much know what this show is all about already. Oh boy, look at me, I can do meta commentary too. Cringe. Moving on, so just like with every old show that ran for an extended period of time, such as The Simpsons, South Park, and Family Guy, yeah, let's not put that one in there, even though it's kinda true, we can ask ourselves if the show is still as good and relevant as it was in the previous season. Except, in the case of Rick and Morty, well, we already have our answer in a way. Season 5 was just mostly boring, full of uncomfortable or cringy scenes, and that was pretty much it. Finally was good though. Yep, definitely worth waiting 10 episodes for that one. So because I already spoiled the big reveal anyway, of course Season 6 was basically on paper, just an attempt to apply a new layer of paint to this classic show in the hope of becoming relevant again, as well as regaining lost fans. But did it work?
Sir Mortan, you'll face the bright, serves the sun with strength and might. Sir Mortan, you'll come and see just what the sun provides for thee.
Well, let's find out by quickly analyzing the types, different plotlines, themes, and what is good and shitty about those episodes. Then, of course, we'll put them on a nice tier list that makes everything look better and more visually interesting, before making a quick fast conclusion explaining if Season 6 is indeed the beginning of a new leaf for the show, or just is their sentence. But first, a quick remark regarding the plotlines in Rick and Morty. Most episodes of Rick and Morty usually have multiple plotlines. They either happen chronologically in the story, meaning one after the other, or at the same time, before meeting at some points towards the end to form the conclusion of the story. For example, in Episode 1 Season 1, there are two plotlines, one principal happening at the same time as the secondary one. The main one is that Rick and Morty try to get the pointy seeds, with Rick using Morty as the sidekick. Those scenes are the center of the attention and as a result have the most action sequences. The second one is Beth and Jerry investigating Morty's school and slowly learning that Rick has a negative impact on Morty. Those scenes are used to pace the story after a big action sequence or even sometimes a commercial break. And at the very end of the episode, those two plotlines meet to form one conclusion. Jerry confronts Rick by using what he learned during the episode, but Rick outsmarts him by using the power of the seeds on Morty that he also previously obtained. Bam! Add to that a conclusion that serves as a moral, callback to some events, recurring joke, or something that will subvert the expectation of the viewer, and you get yourself a cool ending for a Rick and Morty episode. Yeah, I know, I shouldn't really use the pilot as an example, but yeah, whatever. Alright, so now let's talk about the first episode of Season 6. Type: plot episode. Story: two plotlines. The first one revolves around Rick and Morty warping back to their original dimension and having to confront their past in a literal kind of way. And the side plot shows the rest of the family trying to help the lead duo come back to their universe. The theme is as follows. Its main objective is to wrap up the story of the previous episode, so it's basically part 2 of Season 5's finale. This episode also serves as an introduction to this new season and also foreshadowing what is to come, mainly with the comeback of the main new antagonist of the show after Evil Morty, as well as Space Bev slowly becoming a new member of the Smith family and main cast. So a new character, new nemesis. And also this episode solves some plot holes by developing and finishing the character arc of the original Jerry. Okay, not really plot holes, just, like fledging out characters and stuff, so it's pretty nice. Pros: What makes this episode captivating is the amount of interesting callback to previous source materials, just such as the characters, dimensions, and just the lore in general. This is also an excellent way to capture back the interest of the original viewers from 10 years ago. There's a lot of visually appealing places and interesting pieces of lore added to Rick's past. Cons. Well, it's still a shame that Cronenberg Jerry makes his return and also exits all in the same episode, which could feel a bit rushed, but depending on the way you look at it, this negative thing can also be interpreted as a good one. Not only his death is used as a way to further antagonize Rick Prime, but also displays that the writers have confidence in their writings and have other presumably better characters and stories in store for the viewer, so that's cool. Which sadly wasn't always the case in this season. Consensus: S tier. This episode has a perfect balance. It hooks the viewers with numerous story elements, action sequences, as well as beautiful settings, all while finishing the Citadel story once and for all and fleshing out the story and backstory of some characters. It's perfect. Alright, next episode. That was a good start. Rick, a Mort well lived. Type: filler episode. What happens here doesn't have any real impact later on in the show. Story: the main plotline centers on Rick trying to save Morty by entering the arcade game, Roy, and free his mind from it by creating a religion of sorts. And the side story is about Summer killing the terrorist that took over the arcade by doing a Die Hard. Theme: yet another callback to previous season, this time to a simple joke segment that was the Roy video game from season 1, and cleverly fledged out the inner working of the game itself. Then there's also a potential jab at religion by showing how people can fall for something as absurd as Rick's story. Even though Morty got smarter with all the passing seasons, he's still portrayed as being credulous to some extent. The holy war depicted in it can also make fun of the fact that people are willing to make wars on entire countries because two people are just quarreling against each other, which is definitely something that never happened in real life before. Jesus. And also it's pretty fun to see them making fun of the Die Hard movie as a way to criticize the overhypeness of something to the point where the words Die Hard don't mean anything. It could be interpreted as a potential meta-commentary of the show itself, you know, that part. But I prefer interpreting this just as being the fun comic relief part of this story that mostly serves as pacing and kind of an excuse for the actual main plot to happen. Pros. The premise of revisiting Roy is a nice and interesting callback on its own, but the fact they actually go full meta on the game itself and how it functions is really fairly interesting. It's captivating. The humor in the Die Hard part is actually quite good. The spamming of Die Hard reference is actually well timed and not annoying, even for someone like me that never watched it. Yes, I fucking know, I'm a weirdo. Also, the fact that they make fun of the cliché from this action movie fits perfectly the humor of the show without being too on the nose or too cringy. Cons. The quarrel in between Rick and Morty that sparked because Rick didn't show any kind of affection towards him is used as an excuse to create a climactic conflict inside this part of the story, but it's nothing new at that point after the True Crow episode arc thing. The motif feels bland, but the medium they use to show this conflict is interesting. That's still something, I guess, you know, with the Holy War and stuff, but Consensus: A tier. A fun filler episode with interesting plotlines, and that's pretty much it. A little bit of social commentary, but it's alright. Next episode. Bethic. Wait, thick? Is it a reference to the thick meme? Okay, whatever. Bethic Twinstinct. Yeah, let's roll with that. Type: filler with just a hint of lore. It doesn't really progress the story by any means, but it does change the dynamics in between some characters, so yeah, it's still important to the overall story. The story. The main one is about Beth falling in love with Space Beth and committing adultery, and the side plot is about showing how the rest of the cast is slowly discovering their affair and as a result trying to cope with this situation by playing realistic video games. Theme. Its main objective is to strike the audience by serving as a catharsis for the people that had experienced this scenario in real life. By this, I mean children and adults alike that had to endure the adultery of someone in their family with someone else. The second aim of this episode is to mock realistic video games as well as to ironically show how good it can be to pass the time and actually escape from reality. Pros. A smart and original twist that perfectly fits the story. Throughout the show, Rick has always been portrayed as a narcissistic individual, and as well that her daughter had inherited a lot of common points from him.
God damn it, I love myself.
My God, I'm my father.
thus taking the concept of someone loving himself to a new exaggerated level that perfectly fits the show. There are also some characters development regarding Jerry that evolved from a cock to, well, a Jerry that is happy to be a cock. So, a super cock, I guess. I don't know. I guess it shows that even a family with special tendencies can still work out in the end, so I guess it's a pretty cool moral. But most importantly, this episode has some cringe, but done the right way. There are potentially irritating moments, such as the one where we see the two characters being together and falling more and more in love, but the fact that we can't see the terrible effect it has on the family members makes it work. A good change of pace compared to everyone being mostly happy and okay about the incest-based baby in the previous season. Oh my god. Cons. Well, it's still... Can we consider that incest in the end? I don't know. It's a bit out there. I know it's the point, but I feel like I'm kind of obliged to put it in like negative points in there. Even though it could serve the catharsis, people and viewers that actually felt or lived this kind of situation in real life, there's still the possibility that this episode could just give some viewers a Vietnam flashback about their lives and just make them pissed afterward. Kind of a double-edged sword. After all, some people are just trying to watch sci-fi cartoons as a way to escape from reality too. So it's kinda like in season 1 where Morty gets assaulted in a bathroom from seemingly nowhere. It can bring back some terrible memories. Consensus. 8 here anyway. It's a bold episode that value fun criticism and that still raise tensions and without even using any action sequences. Still a risky episode that's not meant for everybody and pretty awkward to watch with your family members, I guess, but still an impactful and cool one nonetheless. Next episode, Night Family. Type, filler episode. Story, one main plot, the use of an invention that takes a turn for the worse, leading to the rise of the Night Family. Theme, this episode is technically a horror episode, acting as somewhat of a parody of the zombie movie genre. The atmosphere is dark, the music is a perfect mix of gloom and sci-fi, and the fact that everyone is turning into a zombie due to being knocked out unconscious instead of being bitten is a pretty original twist for this specific genre. Despite having a different premise, this episode has some similar vibes and morals compared to the Me 6 episodes from season 1. Both feature one invention, basically granting free skills to people, but of course with the with great powers come great responsibility types of, you know, like shit. So of course someone pretty incredibly petty screws everything up. In the Me 6 one it was Jerry being stubborn and terrible, and in this one it was Rick being stubborn and, well, also terrible. Pros. What is great about this episode is that it has some similar vibes to season 1. It feels like this story has been inspired by the Scary Terry and Me 6 box episodes, which were really good because they took one already pre-existing concept and used an invention as a way to constantly build on top of it throughout the episode until the situation escalates to exaggerated proportions. Those episodes also give more depth to the gadgets Rick uses, which is a cool contrast from all the times you see him just use a throwaway gadget that he will never use again afterward. I mean, it's funny at first, but it's like, come on, are you... It's all around a really well done horror-themed episode that feels like a breath of fresh air for long-time viewers. I know they joke on this later in the season, but it really does feel like it's season 1 all over again. But there's no cringe in this one, it's just perfect. Cons. Well, actually, never mind, I take it back. The only issue in this episode is that it also features the apparition of some elements that bend in a really bad way the reality and logic of the show as a way to continue the story. In other words, some elements just don't make any sense. Here are some examples. Why are there children using a swing at midnight? It's funny to see everyone knocking themselves unconscious in literally one little shove, but still makes no sense based on previous episodes when you can't see how resilient they can be in a fight. As well as the fact they are still falling asleep only a few minutes later after snorting a literal truck full of Adderall powder. Dude, it's methamphetamines, it's impossible. How did Summer turn into Night Summer while in the sleep deprivation suit? We saw her interacting with the Night Family as her normal self while she was drinking the caffeinated mix. Also, when she does her big reveal, she suddenly, out of nowhere, has bloodshot eyes. Not only this doesn't make any sense, but this is also a waste of a potentially crucial detail the writers could have implemented as a way to reward the attentive viewers by making them able to spot this subtle detail and predict the twist of the story. Morty opening the car window to check behind him? Really? I know they really want to make it dumb all over again, but Jesus, this feels kind of forced. Not as thought as some action in later episodes, but oh my god. Consensus. S tier. But wait, S really? Yes, everything else is that good that I'm willing to disregard some of the things I've previously said. Also, after watching season 5 for the second time, my level of expectation is quite low for Rick and Morty, to be honest. And also compared to other episodes in the season, well, you will understand why I put this one in S tier. So onward to the next one. Final DeSmithation. Type, filler, with just a smudge of character growth in Rick. Plot, only one story. The quest to save Jerry from having sex with his mom and to unravel the truth behind the fortune cookies by dismantling an entire shadow government-like organization. Theme, providing a fun, ridiculous and action-packed spy-like story. And also being what the Gogotron episode should have been in the first place. Pros. What is mainly good about this episode is that as a running theme in season 6, it actually fixes the Gogotron episode. Both have very similar morals revolving around the importance of family. In the Gogotron episode, they use the mafia stereotype, with Rick trying to acquire more and more wealth until he eventually loses his mind and life as a way to emphasize the importance of family, no matter how flawed your loved ones may be, through the use of the incest baby smashing the Gogotron, aka the embodiment of social power and wealth. But the main issue of that episode, and also the one from the Two Crows episodes, well, you know, I just want to put them in there, why not, is mainly due to how Rick feels out of character. Here's a little list of examples. It has been previously established that Ricks hate other Ricks because it kinda reminds them of himself, so there's no way he would assemble with others like him. Since when Rick cared to fight monsters in space, even though he literally let asteroids kill entire civilizations during the same season? Do you portray Rick as the guy to be okay wearing this kind of outfit? Everything feels off in this episode, but for all the wrong reasons. Just look at the nemesis, just anime stereotypes. The dialogues are not even funny. It just feels like it's a reference by people that never watched anime. And when you see all the numbers of anime references they've done in this season, just why? It's so confusing. Jesus, it's terrible. And here you go, after all of those issues, I don't care what happens in this mafia-themed episode. My mind is literally out of the plot, which is actually pretty boring and cringy too, when you even focus. But on the other hand, in Final DeSmithation, the motive for the story is perfect. Rick is constantly a dick throughout the episode, but still helps Jerry anyway because he wants to know and acquire the power of the cookies. His character motive makes sense. The action is great. There's no actual bullshit Deus Ex Machina or overpowered Rick, just like in some episodes. He's constantly outmatched and needs to use his opponent's strength against them, keeping the tension up and the viewers trying to guess what could happen next, leading to awesome and creative fights. Character growth. Toward the end, Rick sacrifices godlike powers to save his family and unlikely sidekick. This is pretty much the same message as in the Gogotron episode, kind of. Fuck you, it's just not better. It even has those weird incest plot elements going on, but those actually feel way less weird and out of place compared to the incest baby. Jesus, I fucking hate this creature. Cons. Hold on a second. You know what? Come to think of it, why didn't Rick let Jerry fuck his mom and then just mind-wipe his mind like in previous seasons? I know it's supposed to show that he gained more empathy toward his family, and thus that he still is the Rickest Rick, but why not simply use a previously established power he had before? Or he could have even used the cookies to make Jerry forget, as well as a way to find Rick Prime in an instant. And hold on a minute, why can't he just go to an alternate universe where the cookie-making creature exists and steal some cookies then? He already mentioned it's not the first time he sees one, I mean there's some knowledge on them. My god, at this point this show is so riddled with continuity errors and the likes that thinking too much about the plot can literally ruin any episode. It's fucking sad. Consensus. S tier. Yep, let's disregard what's previously said. Why? Because it's an issue that can plague any kind of episode. I won't really count it. But this really comes to show that overthinking the story of Rick and Morty is, at this point, a terrible idea, and that every episode is better when not compared to others. Even the Gogotron one would have been better if you didn't know the family and just watch Rick and Morty for the first time. Well, actually scrap that, because I have some friends that watched the show for the first time, and I think they started with season 5, and they actually hated it. So, scrap what they said, I think it still sucks. Let's move on. JuRicksic Mort. Type. Mostly filler, with just a tiny hint of important lore at the end, but that's it. There is one main plot in this one. It's where the president asks Rick and Morty to get rid of the super intelligent dinosaurs that came back to Earth now that the central finite curve has been destroyed. Theme. Well, it uses a super intelligent species, which is ironic because they are dinosaurs. Lol. As a way to make social commentary on humanity, putting all these resources and power into meaningless things. Like
Marvel movies.
Yeah, funny. And that's it. Well, I could elaborate more on that and get some cool calls and all, but this video is already super long, so I'm gonna use this excuse as a way to continue. Definitely not because this episode was incredibly boring. No, trust me. Pros. The social commentary is alright. A little bit on the nose sometimes, because unless you have been living under a rock during your entire life, the dinosaurs are just pointing out normal facts that we all know. But hey, when it's pointed out by a superior species that was said to be extinct previously, it's more striking and worth making an episode out of that idea alone, I guess. Yeah, nothing else to say. I guess there could be one moral explaining that the dinos are just another arrogant entity full of themselves like Rick, even more so when they are trying to end themselves out of pride for the failure. But that's it, really. What the fuck is there to say? Just, yeah. Cons. Yeah, there's a tad too much social commentary. On top of the entire story alone, they also made fun of the Oscars as a conclusion to the story, and you can feel that the writers really badly wanted to talk about or just make fun of the Will Smith controversy, but it just feels forced, weird, and once again, out of place. Last episode was just saying that this problem was missing, and now it's back. Jesus, why? At this point, it doesn't really feel that the writers are asking themselves, what will Rick do in this situation? But instead, what can we make Rick do based on our current mood? Well, I mean, they're really trying to go full South Park on that. I mean, it doesn't really work when it's just like literally a godlike being that do like this kind of shit. That's it. There are no fights in this one. No real actions, no nothing. Just social commentary that our world sucks. Yup. Carry on. Oh yeah, screw this super important rift. I know it's a part of the joke that, haha, they sold something back and it was super hard and could have been used to milk an entire season, but it actually perfectly encapsulates what is wrong with Rick and Morty as a whole. Too many super quick changes or overpowered gadgets that can either undermine what has been set in stone for multiple seasons, or getting rid of entirely one potentially interesting story finale for the quick joke. Why? And also I love that they're doing like the, oh, we could have milked that, but they are doing the exact same shit with Rick Prime at the end. Jesus, ugh. And I would not be mad about it if the actual finale we had was any good, but sadly it just sucked. I'm getting angry, holy fuck. Consensus, B tier. Not much to say about this episode, honestly. The nicest thing I can say about it, that it's alright, but ultimately very boring. Is it me, or does every episode with the president in it just suck? I don't know if it's just a big coincidence or on purpose at that point. Moving on. Full meta JackRick. Type. Filler episode with just a speck of lore. Plot. Two main storylines happening one after the other. One with Rick venturing into the meta layer to kill a creature that broke the fourth wall to try to feed on their release potential. Wait, what? As well as other boring characters. And then afterward, we got the part about fighting Stardew and his creator. Well, okay, I know it's at the beginning of the episode, but this gets postponed. It's like, haha, this is the tease, then the obstacle, and then the final obstacle. Whatever, my mind is like starting to melt. Theme. Yet again, the objective is mainly to fix the previous season's issues by making jokes about how Storylord is vain as a character, and to finally finish his character arc. You know, because it was a character from the Trend episode, like previous season, or like the season before. Yeah, I think it's season 4, right? Anyway, this episode was boring. And talking about boring, it's also a way for the writers to use the meta-reality plotline to project themselves into the maker of Storylord as a way to complain about their work and living condition, and how critics can be harsh towards writers sometimes, aka me, a nobody. Pros. The writer's character can be an interesting catharsis for every content creator ever, as even though I'm just a random dude on the internet, I too feel connected to him through his passion to write all the time, and because I also know this feeling when you fail and make something that will only get you people saying, I didn't laugh, you're ripping off somebody else, it's boring, or other similar comments, just not to the same scale, of course. There's also some really nice visuals and sceneries. I really can't wait to see them being ported to wallpaper engines for everyone to use. And there's also a fun introduction sequence debunking that Rick is indeed aware that he is in the show. Finally solving this question. Cons. Now we're getting into the juicy part. Action scenes in general are alright, but the main one actually happening with the superhero plots, stereotype squad, whatever the name was, is just horrendous. They tried to make fun of the cliché characters and trope in stories, but it was really poorly handled due to a lot of problems regarding details. Actually, one long-running problem that Rick and Morty still has. So I guess it's time to do like in CinemaSins yet again. It's more time efficient that way anyway, and I'm really fucking getting tired. Alright, here we go. The metal-filled gadget Rick had didn't protect him from Mislead Slap, but then it did with her punch. Why? Flashback can penetrate through the force field and read Rick's memory even though it makes no sense. This will mean that Rick only created this device to be protected from Mislead, the least threatening character that can only slap people. Calling back how Rick made the device makes him instantly give up on the perfectly working gadget, even before smashing into the old barrels. It would have been way more logical to see the device being destroyed instead, otherwise it just come out as just weird. Protagonic used his power to turn anyone into a protagonist on Rick, the guy that already is the protagonist. Even if they didn't know about it, wouldn't turning someone into the protagonist just make him stronger, and thus makes no sense for him to use it on his enemy? Even using it on the security guard did absolutely nothing but focus the camera on him. I'm so confused. Morty can unpin grenades from flashbang, even though they visually don't have any pins. Twits could have used his grenades on Breadcount, but for some reason preferred jumping at him, which literally wouldn't have done anything anyway, because, you know, his power is in the grenades, not jump kick. And I'm gonna stop here, because I have way more in store, and I just don't want to, like, spend, like, 10 more minutes shitting on it. Now I wonder if CinemaSins will point out the same issues as they did. Most likely. Yep, let's stop here. Anyway, consensus. 8 tier. Well, it's a pretty interesting episode, that's for sure. The fourth wall breaking parts and story is pretty interesting. I really did love the parts with the writer and all the catharsis and projection the writer used to speak through him. Even though sometimes it kind of felt a little bit on the nose and exaggerated, because I'm pretty sure, you know, Justin Roiland and all of them are not living these conditions. But yeah, whatever. It's a bit exaggerated, of course, like everything in this show. It was fine, but the action sequence was so fucking terrible that the fight with Storylaws is just... Oof, I wasn't even paying attention at that point. Well, actually, there was nothing to pay attention to. It was just like bitch slapping the other to death. Anyway, next. Analyze Piss. What a beautiful name. Type. Filler episode. Plot. Main one. The main one is about Rick realizing that being a toxic individual affects people around him, and is the reason an infinite onslaught of superheroes is trying to fight him. So as a result, he decides to become a better person by saving lives as a now dead Peacemaster, another misunderstood dick hero character, kind of, which he can somewhat relate to and wants to bring the name to glory in return. Theme. Finally giving some real character growth to both Jerry and Rick. Jerry finally stands up for himself by doing what is right, then becomes a superhero before his ego takes over him. While, in contrast, Rick put his ego aside and turns into a superhero to do what is right by helping people before his true nature kicks in again. This also shows the positive and negative impacts of fame on people. Either dicks can refer deserved ego boost and make their family proud as a result, or socially exclude them from society, potentially leading them to suicide. Damn, it's nothing new, but this still hits. Pros. Everything I previously said. This is a really amazing theme, Jesus. Also, it's really great that it finally marks and fixes the hero nemesis jokes problem from season 5 that was actually created with Mr. Nimbus, definitely the most interesting character of all. The character growth in between Jerry's and Rick is perfect, and also it's interesting to see this Galactic Alliance, whatever their name was, show their true colors as just being a soulless, fame-centered company. I mean, this episode is all around both a beat, sad, and screw it, I need to watch it again. The music, the action scenes, Jesus, it's a perfect balance yet again. Cons. Well, damn it, I can't find anything. Well, only if I'm not thinking about continuity problems in past seasons, of course. And actually, this makes me sometimes wish for Rick and Morty to have no continuity at all. For example, if we take this episode alone, it's amazing. But when you know what Rick is capable of, well, just like in the Fortune Cookie episode, actually, it just raises so many questions that actually doesn't make any sense. For example, why Rick didn't try to make a clone or a robot out of Peacemaster as he previously did with himself. He even was able to resurrect Person after he was brainwashed and underwent cyborg enhancement removal, but being brain dead for a few minutes is where he draws the line? Okay then. Why Rick doesn't have at all times some super healing serums from the pilots of Season 1? Why Rick doesn't go to an alternate reality and grab a similar Peacemaster that lost his daughter to replace him as he did in the toilet episode. Blah blah blah, the list goes on, and now I hate the episode. Damn it, I need to mind wipe my memory now. Probably just like you after you're done watching this video. Anyway, consensus for this episode is S tier. The plot, the moral are so good I'm willing to disregard the continuity errors. And now, we're getting into the, oh boy parts. Yeah, if you hate listening to people rambling and being pissed, well, I guess it's time for you to leave, even though I kinda did that already, so yeah, I guess it's gonna be more of that. Let's go. A wreck in King's Mortur's King. The fuck is that name? Type, filler episode. Plot. Only one main plot? Morty becomes a knight of the sun. And war ensues? Yeah, that really? Theme. Making fun of religions, I guess? Again? Pros. The introduction sequence is pretty fun with all the reverse psychology and social manipulation jokes, but that's pretty much it. Also, it's still a pretty fun jab at religions by showing how exaggerated some rituals can be with the penis cutting part, but it was already well enough executed with the Roy episodes, so it's nothing new at that point, just different in a bad and childish way, that is. Well, I guess the moral will be to show that even like super cosmic, important, smart entities are still relying on dumb rituals. What the fuck is this social commentary? Cons. Hey gamers, it's time for some cinema sins all over again! The knights say that Morty is being protected by their powers, but there's absolutely no animation showing this. At first I thought it was like an invisible friendship force field, but then they ask Rick why he's not burning, so I guess the animators are just being lazy. And then Morty doesn't question what the knight that gave him the sword just killed himself immediately, which should be his biggest concern at that point. Also, at no point they explain or did jokes about the fact that he did that later on. It feels like the writers wanted to go for one story and just decided to completely change it midway while writing it. Just like this script actually, it's just a cinema scene episode at that point. How can't there be wood and earth vegetables on the sun? Everything should be burning right now, and yes, you could tell they have space varieties, but their visual designs doesn't let me think that at all. Change it, damn it.
Guys are like pseudo-immortalish since they live on the sun, so playing by their rules might be the fastest way out of this. Just best them in combat. What?
Or just to shoot a portal in Morty's feet and BAM! Problem solved. There are literally no interesting reasons for them not to instantly leave. But it's Robot Rick talking. Shouldn't he be 22% nicer overall and not instantly resort to making his grandson murder a guy? We're gonna talk about Robot Rick later, don't worry. Why are there peasants on the mighty holy ceremonial ramparts? What the fuck?
Can you get rid of them? You want me to... Well, you guys know he can kill you, right?
I think he'd find that quite difficult, sire, but if it pleases you.
Morty just killed their kings 1 second ago. Why would he be scared of them?
Haven't you seen, like, all of the universes? Exactly, so why would I hang out on Pluto?
On Pluto? What? But it was already established that those creatures from Season 1 ruled this planet. At least acknowledge them or something. The fact that they are all humans looking is incredibly weird too. Also, I thought magic was only in certain dimensions like in previous seasons. Here this will actually imply that there's magic on Earth too, which is also really weird. And also the fact that Rick never knew there was some people here to begin with. I just don't get it. There's an entire 1 minute sequence of the different planet faction leaders fighting, but the problem is as follows. I don't give a shit! I couldn't care less about them, because it already has been established that the scepter does nothing and that they basically are throwaway characters. Rick is a robot. Yeah, we're coming back to it, baby. This is pretty cool because using the robot literally annihilate this previous character growth that was established in the previous episodes. I don't know, I don't feel good about this more. It's like people never change, fuck you, even though he really tried. It's kind of sad, but I don't know. I feel... Why? And the ending is just a reference to the Vat of Acid episodes, which at first can't be funny, but then when you realize that this gag was a criticism of how sometimes there is no hope and the only solution is to literally fake your death to press the restart button, really shows that the writers grew tired while creating this episode. Just like the script of this analysis video, becoming more and more rushed as time passes. Contentious, C tier, I don't know what to say. It's just terrible, boring, and I don't want to watch it ever again. That's it. And the final episode. Finally, holy shit. Ricktional, Mortpoon's Rickmas Mortcation. Go fuck yourself, title. Type. And the final episode of the season is... a filler episode? Oh god. It's just like in the shitty Minecraft finale episode where nothing relevant nor funny happened. Also, no evil Morty, no rifts because it had been fixed by the dinos, no Rick Prime. Come on, the end doesn't count, it's just a teaser for the next season. Nope. Just haha funny Star Wars references. Just really? My god, no. There's 3 plotlines in this one. Sadly, it doesn't mean it's good though. The first one is Rick and Morty and the president trying to prevent the planet from exploding after Morty accidentally dropped his lightsaber. And in the meantime, the second plot is a robot Rick trying to explain to the family that he is a robot as a way to get himself killed. Okay? And the third one is the main climactic plotlines, where Robot Rick and Morty are trying to retrieve the lightsaber that the president stole from them because he turned evil for some reason. Lots of character motivation, I see. Theme. Star Wars references. Never trust the president of the United States. I'm so lost at that point. Using AI to satisfy people is bad? Is it a jab at art made by AI? It could have, but knowing that AI-generated art was used to create High on Life, that would have been ironic. So I guess it's just an action-oriented fun episode, I guess. Or at least I try to make it fun. Pros. The end part of the episode hyped me a lot, but then the episode was over. So yeah. Also, I really thought this season would have been about finding Rick Prime, based on how it was previously teased in the first episode. I guess I'll need to wait another 7 years for that. Cons. Yeah, because the only pros I could come out with was just terrible anyway. It's crazy that when an episode is terrible, this literally awakens the cinema sins inside me. I mean, it's literally the most optimal way to analyze what's wrong about the episode and the show altogether. Alright, here we go. Honestly, am I the only one thinking that lightsabers may be the lamest gadget from this entire season? How am I supposed to be impressed by this when I know they can portal travel anywhere, change reality, use laser rifles, and, you know, pretty much do anything they want? There's no reference to Fruit Ninja in this bit. The plot of the lightsaber falling down vertically is basically just the plot of this Robot Chicken episode taken to the extreme. I wouldn't complain if they got inspired by this idea and developed on top of it. Well, actually, they did, but it was just extremely meh. Robot Rick wants the family to kill him, even though it never mentioned that any directive prevents him from ending himself manually. Actually, that would have been really funny to see him use Rick's intellect as a way to bypass his order by finding a loophole in his directives. That would have been actually a pretty interesting Rick move to do. Also, why does Robot Rick feel so much pain by not revealing that he is a robot? He's still bringing much joy to people, that should be the most important part, right? Or maybe this is a metaphor for someone trying to do their coming out? That would have been an interesting moral. But then, why does the family immediately want to kill the robots after he's been so nice to them? It would make sense if this family fought in a decoy episode, I guess, but they haven't. They were in space. Plus, this annihilates the previous mold that could have been a cool one. What the fuck? The president wants Morty's lightsaber even though he literally has a space base with robots wielding lightsabers. So he definitely could have made one for himself all this time. Yet again, just for the sake of an action sequence and fun Star Wars references, they annihilated the logic behind the plot. How did they get to space? Rick's car? There were no explosion nor anything. I smell laziness. There's no suspense nor tension in these scenes because we know that Rick made Morty able to survive in space since season 1 of season 6. If his directives are lax enough to allow him to pretend to sacrifice himself in order to die, he definitely could have just lied to himself and found a better way to die previously. It's a robot and its head seems pretty intact, so I can't easily imagine Rick being able to copy-paste its memory into a new one, thus undermining the impact of his death. If only the episode could have also explained why Rick Prime is trapped in this dimension, even though portal travel works again, that could have been pretty cool. Thanks. Consensus. fuck you, it sucked. Action was basic at most, writing could have been interesting, but just like for the Night of the Sun episode, it felt like it was changed or tampered with mid-production, and with all of those expectations after watching the first episode, I just feel like I have been blue-balled so fucking hard, and that's not a good feeling at all, trust me. In conclusion, Rick and Morty Season 6 proves that the writers can still deliver impactful stories with clever writing, good visuals, interesting fighting scenes with a good choreography, as well as fun gadgets for Rick to use as a way to solve his problems, and that hope is not entirely lost regarding the future of the show. But my god, you can still feel a lot of exhaustion from them, as well as a struggle to keep track of all the MacGuffin Rick introduced to the previous seasons that can still create a lot of problems and continuity errors within the show. And as we previously saw, one episode of Rick and Morty, when analyzed in a vacuum, meaning without comparing it to pre-established logic, gadgets, or events from previous episodes, is way more enjoyable than when you actually try to piece back elements together, because most of the time you realize that nothing makes sense. Sadly, I don't really feel like drinking an entire bottle of whiskey every time I want to watch an episode. Come on, I already reserved that for the FNF mods I play on stream. Easy joke there, but that's kind of the truth. Anyway, Season 6 was an attempt to repair and fix a lot of issues created by Season 5, and even some other seasons. It actually both managed to succeed and somewhat fail at the same time. But it still mostly was a good season, and with good episodes, and I will definitely encourage you to watch the episodes that are either in the A or S tier category. Thank you for watching until the end. Also, speaking of watching this show, don't forget to subscribe if you liked what you watch. You can't imagine how important this is to me. Please tell me if you disagree with me in the comments, and also please do take a look at the other analysis or random stuff I do on my channel. Look at this video, this one has 50 views. Does one of my Morty haircuts in the thumbnails makes you wanna click on it? Well, neither do I actually. Have a nice day, thanks and bye, take care.